entitled Night Bleeds. Blackest night comes falling like a scythe, slicing the embers of the dying sun. Fading west to the sky bleeds dusk. To cast your eyes upon it, you would think the sun had never risen. Uncanny how the essence of once familiar landscapes changes in the total absence of daylight. Remember as a child how you were afraid of the dark? If only life was that simple. Running late, you leave the city at 6 o'clock and choose poorly by departing the motorway prematurely, swerving for the nearest exit in the vain hopes of cheating the ubiquitous rush hour traffic. You find yourself winding along a narrow B road. Remnants of the suburbs cling teasingly downhill upon your ascent of the black moors. Through a thinning line of trees, another road rises parallel to meet your lane at a junction. Under a hooked street lamp, in a decrepit bus shelter illuminated in a hazy sodium glow, a young man waits for a bus that will never come. Deathly pale skin shimmers under a heavy black coat. How he doesn't shiver reminds you of an urban myth whispered on the school playground when kids wandered home alone and across the moors after dark. You remember the opening verse? Run one turn, you ain't coming back. In moors and bogs lives little Jimmy Black, with blood-red eyes and cold dead hands. He wears the skin of many dead man. Reciting these words, the faint human outline fades into the shadows, his hollow eyes fixed upon you, piercing the opaque sodium glaze of your windscreen. You'd otherwise be forgiven for not seeing him. The boy raises a thumb like a dew claw from an unfurled wing of a bat. You pretend not to notice. Your foot slams on the accelerator, breaking the speed limit to dispel this apparition, ridding your eyes of the accusing stare eating through your retinas. As you leave the poor lad alone under the dull flickering street lamp, a monotonous sea of spruce pine guides your progress as last fragments of civilization shrink in the rear-view mirror. So, why this eerie feeling? Is it guilt or foreboding of the encroaching fallen moors? But then, why? Do you not shun the company of your fellow man, finding them shallow and obtuse in their eternal ignorance? They rub their flirtations in the faces of those less socially connected, like horny teenagers boasting about shedding their virginity. Sexual innuendo aside, they only ever talk about reality television or going on spa holidays, which plebs on a minimum wage can only dream of affording. They smear it in your face like apes flinging fecal matter, stench of hypocrisy is overwhelming. "Kick 'em when they're down," hollers the boss after a round of cheating golf. "Kick 'em till they can't stand, or else they remain a threat. Because no one's safe in their job while that threat remains." It's a cutthroat business. The sooner you find another vacancy elsewhere, the better. The firm is a festering cesspit of excess. The weaklings devoured to feed the egos and bloated salaries of the wealthy. But is it wise to leave so soon? You are young and inexperienced. Find yourself a less competitive firm, and you may sink faster than the Titanic, colliding with a sterling-shaped iceberg. Social Darwinism aside, your future's looking most bleak. Even the heavens share your pessimism. The late September sun looked so promising not half an hour ago in its hazy orange glow. Watch as the clouds swallow up the last dying embers. The trees are like vines, choking out the life of the botanical perennials before they can even flower. The scent of pine is overwhelming. How their needled peaks stab the sky makes your flesh creep. You don't usually feel agoraphobia unless there are too many people around. But as the road inclines through two narrow rows of thickening conifers, the last visuals of daylight are drained of colour, leaving splotches of grey between twisted gnarled branches, growing tighter till they form a steel wire cage, ensnaring a rabbit till the serrated mesh slices through its cheeks like a tender, well-done brisket joint. What the hell is wrong with you? You came up here to clear your head, not fill it with childish nonsense. The testosterone, the male toxicity of the modern work environment. There you will find the real vampires. You see a gap in the woods ahead, but the sun has sunk beneath the clouds, and the motorway is no longer visible under the hills. Knolls and bogs dot the landscape as far as the eye can see. The road is smooth, deceptively smooth. There are no potholes. It seems safe to take your eyes off the road. Your sat-nav displays a blank screen of hideous bleak neon green, a single line shooting straight like an arrow, sometimes curving around a crag, the dot of your car never quite able to reach the top. Is this a video game or the latest figures on the stock exchange? Blackened clouds leer overhead, like gloomy mountains floating in the sky. To gaze upon them evokes vertigo. You cannot help but peel your eyes off the road as the endless white lines drift your mind away towards slumber. Thick mists gather in the depressions, your floodlights not strong enough to pierce the veil. You're low on caffeine, your coffee flask is empty. No oncoming traffic from the opposite lane. You are completely alone. You switch on the radio. The shipping forecast ambles on about gale-forced winds of the Humber and a storm gathering in Dogger. The airwaves crackle and fall silent. Is it a bad signal? Or has the whole network gone on strike? Listen to the wind whistle through the aircon and the rhythmic thud of the cat's eyes as the front wheel drifts across the white lines. The Royal Philharmonic Orchestra belts out God Save the King, followed by the ominous pips of the Greenwich time signal. This is the BBC with the news at 6. 3 teenagers have been reported missing today after a week spent hitchhiking in the Black Moors. Their disappearance comes after a spate of missing persons were reported in the Greater Moorwich area. Police are urging travellers to avoid the B roads late at night after a collision cost the lives of a mother and her 2 children. A lorry driver has been arrested at the scene on suspicion of drink driving. An extended curfew comes into force tonight after a string of sexual assaults were reported in the Grimsmouth harbour. So far, 8 underage sex workers are suspected to have been... Police called off the search for 19-year-old Claudia Wilby, who was reported missing a month ago. She has been described as 5'7" with brunette hair and wearing a beige overcoat. Though police are not treating her case as suspicious, the Chief Constable urges listeners with important information to contact them on switch over to a rock station. But you can't adjust to the right signal. It's an old car, a 1973 Opel Kadett Coupe. The electricals incompatible with basic modifications like digital radio. Not that any other frequency can be picked up at this altitude. Nothing but static and an ungodly howl charging across the moorland. Anything to clear the voices from your ears of those poor kids lost in the wilderness. Their faces plastered on every billboard, milk carton and tabloid front page. Your work colleagues placing bets as to where they'll find the bodies. What a bunch of incel wankers. You'd sooner believe the tales of little Jimmy Black with blood red eyes and cold dead hands than a modern day Patrick Bateman. The horizon turns dark indigo at the threshold of twilight. Faint lines of cobalt and pink sinking under the hills, glinting through heather and gorse like shrunken jack-o'-lanterns, reforming the black and white missing posters with pallid complexions and blank soulless eyes. They wear cadaverous smiles, too big for the human face, like board executives laughing at the latest layoffs. See how they dance a jig as the front wheel catches a pothole? Oh, shit! No warning lights flash on the dashboard, but the suspension feels uneven, steadying the wheel. The hauntings are purged from your mind. Tempting as it is to get away from it all, you are averse to becoming another ghost along this lonesome highway. You tighten the steering on your approach to a lay-by before the road dips at a narrow ford where a copse obscures the last visage of daylight. Grabbing a torch from the glove compartment, you search behind the front wheels. Something wet and furred, tangled in a maze of bolts and piping, dripping copious rivulets of red. You search for a branch or stick to remove it. You cross the footbridge. You hear a waterfall crash upon a scree of unbroken rock 40 feet below. Unable to reach any vegetation this side of the gorge, your faith rests upon a flicker of twilight and a weak flashlight with a low battery. Up, over and down the adjacent embankment lies a hedge of twisted deadfall amongst a barren ash grove. The ground yonder levels upon a meadow of peat bog. Ghostly mists hover above a network of warped ditches and bracken, where the golden rays of a harvest moon are unable to penetrate. You see a lone disused pylon silhouetted against the faint constellations, the galaxies yonder Lupus and Scorpius twinkling in celestial judgment, their faint glow unable to peel the blackened veil and the terror slowly creeping in. How you long for the mundane terrors of an office cubicle, working 9 to 5 to pay the rent. But curiosity shrouds better judgment, like the perilous bogs under misty white vapours. Is anybody there? You think you heard footsteps along a faint flicker of movement. No, it's just trickery of the retina. Spectral faces flash like lightning, rising from the earthbed, clawed fingers parting the greyish-white emerald shrouds, orifices blackened and gnarled like the fangs of creatures dwelling in the ocean bed, swimming in slow motion like a dream gone wrong. Recoiling behind a leaning branch, your heel breaks a shard of looking glass. 7 years bad luck peer in broken fragments, spilling from a dropped leather purse. The eerie twilight barely unveils the contents of the ditch. Bark and loose soil crown a crinkled beige synthetic watercoat surface. Rendered inept by a month's worth of rain, pissing down in less than 48 hours, stretched under the fallen branch, protruding like a mollusk inside a cracked shell. Pale, lifeless fingernails of faded pink varnish glint amongst the grit and gristle where worms curl around yellowing bones, feasting on hummus, calluses, festering meat. Startled, feet blindly stepping in a puddle of oozing purple slime and entrails, you twist your ankle on a pallet of dead branches. No, Christ, an exposed rib cage! Ignoring the stench and the pain, you climb the deadfall, shaking maggots from your drenched boot as you stagger out of the ditch. The footbridge appears further than it first looked, and those spectral shapes on membranous wings with fanged maws hover ever closer, the reek of their breath upon you. Your legs react on instinct, climbing the slope in frantic leaps, blind to the throbbing in your ankle. Daylight drains as you reach the footbridge. The roar of the falls guides your progress. Keep your eyes focused straight ahead. It is a struggle of will. You want to turn back. You want to turn and look back to see who or what is behind you. No, don't look back. Halfway across the bridge, a hazy glow warms your shoulders. only to sink beneath the clouds, replaced by a chill. Foolishly, you brave a glance and instantly regret it, finding yourself trying, failing to outpace the night and what lurks within its cold embrace, or at least keep on par with its swift blackened wings. You regain your footing and break into a pained sprint, turning a corner into the trees, hoping to outpace what presence may or may not be in hot pursuit. Dark and lonely conifers press in on either side, jolting your legs to a faster pace. Breathless, your diaphragm pounds against your lungs, bronchi strangled by lack of oxygen, aching limbs drowning in lactic acid, moist, clammy air choking, the chill rousing a fever. Colliding with a rock face, you stumble through fern, tasting blood on your lips and through broken, cracked teeth. Trousers shredded by brambles as fog lights blaze across the damp tarmac, chasing the darkness away. Salvation arrives in the form of a bus, its front bumper mere inches from your face. A solitary horn jolts you awake. Strained limbs and lungs be damned. Breathless, you approach the passenger door. Phantom hands wave you in. A distant, mellow voice assuring you that the next stop will be a mechanic. But I left my wallet in my car. Don't worry, mate. Pay me back some other time. Come on, let's get you back to town. Head leaning back as you bask in cold sweats. A deathly voice next to you brings your eyes wide open. Just as you regain your breath, the pale boy from the bus shelter seeks his prey with hollow eyes, void and unseeing, yet omnipresent in their cold judgment. Waxen skin, pale as bed sheets, shimmers in the purple dusk, receding to pitch black, even as the dark swallows all physicality. Little old Jimmy Black sees all, his amorphous form clear in dusk's cruel embrace. Feel it crush your bones with barbed and membranous wings, but even the dark doesn't compare to the blackness of hollow eyes and gaping maw, lined with rows of serrated dentures, as he leans in with the kiss of death. You prefer the vampires, the toothless vampires at work.
Thank you, David. And so we have reached the second interval of the show. When we return, I myself will be presenting a story of memory, poverty, and the desperate lengths some will go to hold on to who they are. I hope that you will enjoy my own small contribution, tiny shards of precious life, after the break.